Thank you very much, Dr. Kuriyat. Namaste, good evening, good morning, and good afternoon to my all the homeopathic colleagues from which part you are in the world. But it's a sincere greetings, and really I extend my warmest welcome to all the homeopaths and friends at IFPH, International Forum for Promoting Homeopathy. I extremely feel honored for this great privilege offered by Dr. Shaji Kuriyat, and it's 213th day of the continuous uninterrupted flow of treasure of knowledge. Mankind has never been devised a better science and better tool for solving the mysteries of the universe than science. However, homeopathy is such a science, and homeopathy is such a science rather than it's more art than science, and which answers the unexplained health mysteries with its own limitations. Homeopathy having its own limitations. And if we play within that limitations, then this science can make a magic on patient's health and some unexplained conditions of the patient. Today, we will talk about some mysterious male infertility problems where it has proved par excellence. So let me share my screen with you.
Yeah, please proceed.
Yeah. Today we are going to talk about the male infertility. I will share my thoughts with my 41 years of clinical experience. I started my practice since 1980, and gradually I come across of this synthesis. I was not able to find that rubric. So I was wondering that at the time of Hahnemann, the advancement of medical science was not that enough strong to give a good picture of the sperm. Hahnemann has just mentioned everything on his observation. And as I was working in a gynec hospital for a pretty long time, and I came across a lot of patients having this sperm problem, sperm abnormality, then I thought that why not to research more on the sperm side, on the male and female part of infertility. And then I realized that in repertory, in synthesis repertory, Kent's repertory, in Bonninghausen repertory, there are so many repertories, but I couldn't find a rubric like azoospermia, oligospermia, oligoastenospermia, anti-sperm antibodies like this. Then I applied that medical knowledge along with the homeopathic rubric side, and I created a repertory of infertility. And presently, that repertory of infertility I published in a form of book, and then this repertory has been incorporated with the synthesis, that is Radar Opus. Now it has become very easy for a homeopath to find any rubric which you are getting with the modern medical test. Okay, so now let us start with the infertility. Can you see the slide?
Yes.
Okay.
You can go to slideshow if you like.
Okay, I'll do that.
Please click the current slide.
Yeah. From the
Current slide.
yeah. Okay, let us start with the infertility. So, considering the definition of the infertility, it's a failure by a couple to conceive after 1 year of unprotected intercourse. Medically, it is defined as an inability to conceive after multiple sustained attempts of unprotected intercourse for at least 12 months. So when couple think to start family, and if they try without any protections for 1 year, and if they fail to get any results for starting a family, then they start seeking advice from different various allopathic practice first. Straight away, they don't come to the homeopath. This is my experience. And when they fail, when they consider the amount of expense, amount of the side effect, amount of the time they are wasting, then they seek the shelter of the alternative medicine. Then they come to the homeopath. And when they come to the homeopathy, it becomes a homeopath's duty to give them a good results on the ground of their constitution, on the ground of miasm, on the ground of the diathesis, on the ground of the pathological abnormality which has been taken place. So, medically, it is defined that inability to conceive after multiple sustained attempts of unprotected intercourse for at least 12 months. Now, infertility has increased by 4%. Means the ability to reproduce has been going down by 4% since 1980. So I am always joking with my students, with my patients, that since I started my practice since 1980, the patients of infertility are rising, and I'm getting a good chance to treat them. Okay, and with the male infertility, today that what we are going to talk about male infertility in our routine practice, in our day-to-day routine practice, when patients come to us and when there is a male factor is playing a role, I can see that majority of the patient having a azoospermia, oligospermia, oligoastenospermia, anti-sperm antibodies, hydrocele, and varicocele. These are the most common conditions that which every day we are coming across in our patient. Sometimes patients' relatives, they are also coming to us that, oh, one of my relative having this problem. So can you please help? So at that time, if we look at the results, then we are finding only such type of condition. Later conditions are very advanced, and for that we need another sessions. But today we are going to talk about the vital statistics of infertility. The abnormality of the male factors related to the sperm is around 30%. 30% factors are related with the female problem. 10% are combined factors, that is male and female both. 25% are unexplained. They don't have any reason to give any explanation to the patient that why you are not getting results. And 5% due to other causes. So we will elaborate each and every causes slowly with our current presentation. And we also evaluate the patients on emotional aspect, on miasmatic aspect, on clinical aspect, and on homeopathic aspect. Because it is physicians' high only mission is to restore the sick to health. That is our first aphorism. And second aphorism is by earliest possible time. And third comes with the knowledge of physician. So when we are considering the emotional aspect, then infertility is very sensitive issue on emotional aspect. It is always superadded with the male ego. Male, when they found that they got any problem, initially they deny for the consultation, they deny for the treatment. At least 10 to 15% of the male patient I have seen in my practice that they are not ready to open up. And this is again another factor where the female are suffering because of the male factor. Inhibitions, they're having inhibitions that being a male, if they say that they don't have enough number of sperms or they're having a oligospermia, oligoastenospermia, then it's a male ego that, oh, male is always okay, always fine. So this is another factor. Neuroendocrine hormones like thyroid, testosterone, low testosterone level, anti-Mullerian hormone, then luteinizing hormone, and sometimes other allied conditions are also playing a role along with the emotional factors. Say, for example, if patient is complaining of the low libido, means high level of prolactin is suppressing the testosterone, and patient is developing a low libido. We'll talk about that later. Miasmatically, it is very complicated, and we discuss all the miasm today. Clinically, it is very challenging. Why it is very challenging? Because emotions are superadded with various abnormal and heterogenic. When patient comes to us, at that time, patient has taken treatment from various specialists, endocrinologist, urologist. Female patient have taken the treatment from the gynecologist, and if they have given certain type of allopathic medicine, then that has also got the sort of a suppression of certain things. Say, for example, patient has detected with the varicocele, and if the surgery has been done, that surgery has led to the fibrosis, and that fibrosis is not allowing sperm to pass through the channel, and that's why there is a seminoma. So these are the heterogenic cause. Somatic cause means some corporeal. If any patient had a tuberculosis, so tubercular miasm is playing a role, and tuberculosis has also caused a sort of a fibrosis, and that fibrosis is also affecting the normal pathology of the testis, and the seminiferous tubules is not able to produce enough number of the sperm. Testis is not able to produce enough number of the sperm. So here we have to consider the pathology which is affecting to the male partner. No doubt, pathological affection is also related with the female partner, but the female problem we'll discuss in another session. Here, homeopath must find out the root cause of the condition. What is the root cause? Majority of the root cause is the psora, and I will discuss that. But main cause for the abnormality, sperm abnormality, sperm morphology, and the production of the sperm, that is called spermatogenesis. We have to find the root cause of any abnormal pathology related with the sperm. And it is our duty to bring that abnormal pathology to the normal physiology to ease the conception. Most of the patients have tried various treatment options, as I said earlier. So we have to rule out the heterogenic causes as well. And considering the male and female patients, both partners as a whole, we have to consider. And we have to rule out the condition. If we treat only male patient, and if female patient is a problem, then also it's not going to work. So we have to consider male and female patients both together. So in my practice, when any patient of infertility, any couple comes with the infertility problem, I always request them that it's a joint problem and you have to come together, and I have to evaluate both the partner with their different problems. If male partner is okay, our 50% tension is over. So now, what is sperm? Sperm is a male reproductive cell which unites with the ovum in a sexual reproduction to produce a new individual. Sperm was first observed in 1677 by Antony van Leeuwenhoek. He used a microscope. And he found the sperms, and he described sperms as a small little animal, being any macules. Any macules means small little animals. That's what he described. So the first sperm was discovered by Antony van Leeuwenhoek, and sperm was observed in 1677. So now Dr. Hahnemann researched cinchona effect, and that's the birth of homeopathy. Hahnemann's research on cinchona's effect on human body by self-application gave a birth to homeopathy that we know very well. And in 1781, Dr. Hahnemann with Henrietta, their marriage produced 11 children. So cinchona, Hahnemann, 11 children. This is very, very important. That what cinchona has caused on sperm, on testes, on human reproduction. See, in India, I have seen that most of the people, most of the population have got the malaria. And for the malaria, only one medicine is available. That is chloroquine or quinine derivative. And everybody must have taken that chloroquine or quinine. And see the growth of population in India, 130 crores. While in UK, nobody has taken chloroquine. So here, government is encouraging to produce more children. And this is a very good research paper I found from the ResearchGate. So they proved the effect of cinchona on rooster. They mix the feed additive and they gave to the rooster. And the data showed that supplementing the diet with different level of cinchona resulted in improved all semen characteristics. And semen concentration, viability significantly increased by level of cinchona bar compared to those of the control group. So this is another proof which we can produce that cinchona having some effect on the sperm production. And if we read the Materia Medica, China is also a very good remedy for the impotence. Yes, factor affecting infertility. So there are loads and loads of factors which is affecting the infertility. And our master Hahnemann has taught us in organ of medicine that we have to find out the root cause, causative factor, predisposing factors, and maintaining cause. And when we are trying to find all these things about this root cause, causative factor, predisposing factor, and maintaining cause, when we ask the history to the patients, with the history, it becomes a mystery. With the history, it becomes a mystery that, oh my God, this thing has caused a lot of problem with the sperm production. Say, for example, bad effect of shock is suppressing the sperm count. Loss in a business is suppressing the sperm count. Winning a lottery increases the sperm count. These are the various factors which is just playing with the hormones. And predisposing factors, lady means before marriage, she is living with the parents, the atmosphere is different. After marriage, she comes to a new environment and where she has to suppress her emotions, that is also suppressing the ovulation. The same way it is suppressing the sperm count, where in a joint family, when the son is not able to discuss some domestic matter with the family because of the respect, and this becomes short of a maintaining cause, and ultimately patient is suffering silently. Patient is brooding silently. So the factors influencing the fertility and ability to reproduce is seriously affected and gradually lowered by environmental factors, exposure to carbon, chemicals, etc. Country like India having lots of vehicle, two-wheelers, when they're emitting carbon and when we inhale that carbon. Because right now we are wearing the mask because of the COVID, but before 2 years, if we think ahead 2 years, before 2 years ago, we were not wearing any mask. And the patient who inhaling a lot of carbon, like a traffic police, has to all the way stand in a very heavily traffic area and he's inhaling a lot of carbon. Chances of getting low sperm count are very, very high. Chances of low libido is very, very high. So this is the environmental factor. In UK, they are using a special type of chemical in the wall. It contains Zeram and Thiram. This is also one of the things where it retains the damp and it can cause the sperm production. Yes, Zeram, Thiram, and other chemical, those who are working in a chemical factory, those who has to inhale certain type of chemicals, it is also affected by the low sperm count. Diet, meat, frozen food, processed food, tin food, etc. So this is also one of the thing where there is a lot of chemicals has been mixed with the diet. And when the diet has been ingested, processed food has been ingested, that is also affecting the sperm production. Habits, recreational sources like coffee, alcohol, drugs, certain type of medications. It is also affecting the sperm productions, and heterogenic causes caused by physician, as I discussed that any surgery. After surgery, when the process of healing takes place, at that time, short of a fibrosis happens, and fibrosis is also causing a short of a impairment in the sperm production. Contraceptive pills to regulate menstruation in young girls. It is related with the female part, but these are short of a medicines that I have covered over here. Late marriage, that is also short of a one of the factor which is affecting the insecurity about the relationship, about the sort of apprehension that how we will manage, how whether we'll be able to have a biological parents or not. So this type of stress, different level of stress like financial, social stress, domestic stress, high ambitions, stress at executive level where one has to reach the deadline. This all the things which is playing a role with the spermatogenesis. So now we were talking about the stress. So let me explain you that before life begins, stress begins. So this is a picture where you can see, this is self-explanatory picture where you can see that only one egg there and there are millions of sperms. They are running. It's just like a rat race to pierce that egg. So all the sperms are under pressure. All the sperms are under tension. All the sperms are under stress that who will reach first and who will pierce the egg. So just look at this self-explanatory picture and you will be able to understand that how the stress begins before life begins. So when we are talking about the stress, but before life begins, stress has already begun and it has just incorporated with our genes. Does age matter? This is another question patient is asking. When old age couple, when they were facing the problem with the infertility, they are asking that does age matter? I would say with the male patient, no. From the teenage to various ages, men facing different problems will seriously affect their sex life. Psychological, physical, social, domestic, interpersonal, heterogenic causes should be counted here. But With the female, like menopause, there is no sudden collapse in sex hormones in male, and so there is no age bar to be a father. I quoted one example of with one Indian wrestler. Recently, he died. He became a father at the age of 96, and his name is Mr. Raman. Now, we are coming to the miasmatic evaluation. So, as we know, the miasm, SORA, syphilis, psychosis, and tubercular miasm, having a base with a tuberculosis. So, soric sexual symptoms, how it can be described? With the soric patient, male and female, here I have combined both the sex, male and female both, because when we are evaluating the male partner and female partner, we are getting all these symptoms with the soric patient. With the soric patient, all functional and psychological menstrual disorder you will be able to see. That is called the DUB, dysfunctional uterine bleeding. Discharge. With the female patient, leukorrhea is always blunt. With the male and female patient, there is a weakness of sexual organ due to prolonged suffering of exhaustive disease. Soric patient has a very high sexual desire, and this patient has a full moon and new moon aggravation. So these are the symptoms that we are getting with the soric patient. These are the common symptoms with the soric miasm. Now we are coming to the syphilitic one. So syphilitic patient having an inability to perform. So most of the syphilitic patient having an erectile dysfunction. They're having a low libido, decreased sexual desire, and syphilitic, as you know very well that it's a destructive miasm. So all form of cancer, cancer of the penis, cancer of the uterus, cancer of the testis, all sorts of cancer we get with the syphilitic patient. And here, breast involvement with open say discharge for vagina. This is very typical symptoms with the female patient. Syphilitic patients, they are very hypersensitive vagina with the pain that is called the vaginismus, fainting after periods, depression associated with fear during menses, and recurrent abortion. With the male patient, we are getting only two types of complaints, that is inability to perform, erectile dysfunction, and azoospermia in male. Because azoospermia is always resulting with the destruction. Any destructive process, any destructive pathological process is going on inside the body, it results in the azoospermia in male patient. But with the syphilitic patient, mind is always concentrated on sex organ and sexual fancies. In female patient, leukorrhea is always acrid, burning, smells like fish brine, and putrid odor. Very often see leukorrhea. That shows some decomposition. Here, we'll get sterility and infertility. And another important symptoms which we are getting is hyperprolactinemia. High level of prolactin in male patient as well in female patient. With the female patient get various menstrual disorder, metrorrhagia, menorrhagia, polymenorrhea, spotting of the periods. Itching is very common, itching pudenda, itching at the private parts, pruritus vulvae. This is very common. And as we have seen our hyperprolactinemia, high level of prolactin is always resulting in mastodinia, means painful breast. Patient is not able to bear the touch of inner clothes. These symptoms you will get with the female patients. But in male patient also, the breast becomes sensitive. Stains of menses difficult to wash off, and mental weakness during leukorrhea. These type of symptoms with the syphilitic miasm you will get with the female patients over here. Now, tubercular. Here, masturbation is very common. Loss and lack of all enthusiasm. Patient is a depressed personality, weakness of memory, emission of semen during defecation or micturition. In tubercular patient, we will get a lot of male symptoms. Emission of the semen during defecation. When patient is straining at the stool, patient is emitting semen, and this is a very typical symptoms of Arnica montana. Uterine, ovarian, and allied complication. Profound weakness. Tubercular patient is quite weak. And in female patient, bleeding continues or persists for a long time, and it recurs again. Patient is complaining of diarrhea, fever, visual and auditory hallucination, and patient also having anorexia, means loss of appetite, nausea, vomiting during menses. So now, I have not omitted the psychotic aspect, but in psychotic aspect, psychotic miasm, we are getting only the symptoms with the overgrowth, like polyp, fibroids in female patients. But in male patient, we are not getting much overgrowth-like symptoms. And when there is overgrowth, at that time, we are not able to treat that patient. Say, for example, testicular tumor. So testicular tumor, it rarely happens during reproductive age, rarely. So I have not omitted, but I have not mentioned here as well. So now we are coming to the clinical aspect. So understanding the clinical condition, male part of infertility. As initially, I talked about that when I started my practice, and when I was trying to use the repertory and I couldn't find the symptoms of azoospermia. So then I started working on it, and I prepared a repertory of infertility, and where I have put all the rubrics like azoospermia, aspermia, asthenospermia. But let us understand first that what clinical condition, what the clinical terms for the azoospermia or aspermia or asthenospermia. So aspermia means complete absence of semen. There is no semen at all. Asthenospermia. Astheno means low movement. So patient having a, means when the semen report comes, it has been described as a low motility. Oligoasthenospermia. This is a common conditions which we come across in our day-to-day routine practice. Asthenospermia means low motility of the sperm. Azoospermia means absence of sperm cell in semen. Semen is present, fluid is present, it's a prostatic fluid, but there is no any presence of sperm in the semen. Hyperspermia, large semen volume. Hypospermia, small semen volume, scanty semen. Oligospermia, few spermatozoa in semen. Necrospermia means dead or immotile sperms. Teratospermia, sperm with abnormal morphology, 2 heads, 2 tails, broken tail, broken head like this. And biospermia means pus cells in semen, WBC is present in semen. So these all are understanding of the clinical condition which we can get from the semen report. When patients comes with the semen report, and if we find this type of terminology which has been examined by the pathologist, then what to do? Now we'll see that. Conditions related to abnormal sperm and its investigations. When, say for example, if we don't have any reports, patient has not undergone any investigations, any patient is coming to you, when you are investigating the wife, means female partner, and male partner should also be investigated. So what are the important and necessary investigations which we can suggest to the patient? So first is semen examination. 4 days abstinence is compulsory. And after 4 days or 5 days of abstinence, we can advise patients that after then you just go to the laboratory and give the sample. Now, if we have to find something in a blood, then serological test is very, very important, and that is anti-sperm antibody. A specific type of antibodies, they get agglutinated on the sperm, and then sperm becomes immobilized. So just to rule out that anti-sperm antibodies, we have to advise this serological test. Hormonal assay is also very, very important, very, very vital. And we can advise our patient to undergo for FSH, that is called the follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone, and testosterone. Testosterone is free testosterone and total testosterone. This is very important. AMH, anti-Mullerian hormone. In female, this anti-Mullerian hormone is showing the ovarian reserve. And in male patient, this anti-Mullerian hormone shows the testicular activity. And ultrasonography, scan or sonography. And with the testicular Doppler, I have put a shot of a picture over here. So with this picture, you will be able to see that the blood flow in the testes, right testicle, left testicle. The bluish part is showing the veins and the red part is showing the arteries. And this shows whether patient having a varicocele, whether patient having a sort of some fibrosis, whether patient having a hydrocele or anything like this. So these are the necessary lab investigations for the blood and necessary clinical investigations like sonography, testicular Doppler, and all. Right. So now again we are coming to the understanding of some rubrics. Let us understand some rubrics like aspermia. Aspermia means complete lack of seminal fluid and sperms. There is no sperms and there is no seminal fluid. Now here, if we have to select the rubric, then we can select rubric like this. Atrophy testis. When there is an atrophy of the testis, means testis is atrophied. And when there is an atrophy, there is no function. When there is a no function, there is a no production. And in that case, agnus castus, antimony crude, argentum nitricum, and iodium are the remedy of choice, drug of choice. Under rubric, we can select, that is inflammation of the testis. Here, argentum nitricum, Baptisia, conium, pulsatilla, parotidinum, and rustox. These are the homeopathic anti-inflammatory to treat the bad effect of the inflammation to the testis or inflammatory condition of the testis. Like Baptisia, as you know well that Baptisia is a very good remedy for the typhoid fever. And when there is a typhoid fever, it is also affecting the testis. And that's why the testis is developing a sort of a fibrosis, and Baptisia is very well acting on the testicular fibrosis, and it also helps in regeneration, reproduction of the sperm if it has been suppressed. Same with the parotidinum. Parotid glands get inflamed, and the condition is called the mumps. So parotidinum is a nosode, and when it has been given any condition which has caused a sort of effect on the testis from the mumps, it gives a very good results. Injury to the testis. Injury can also causing aspermia. That is arnica, hypericum, Rustock, and stapes. These are the medicine for the injury to the testis. Induration of the testis. Optasia, clematis, parotidinum, and rhododendron. These 4 remedies are working very well on the induration of the testis resulted due to inflammation, due to injury. Now we are coming to the ejaculation. Aspermia means no sperm and no fluid, means ejaculation absent. When there is an absence of ejaculation, when there is a no fluid, there is a no any sort of a fluid is coming out, the only remedy, only medicine of choice is agaricus. Agaricus is working very well on the aspermia. Agaricus is a psychoactive remedy. Psychoactive property like hallucinogen. It produces euphoria, relaxation, and changes in mood. Agnus castus mother tincture. Agnus castus is a chaste tree, originally used as anti-libido by monks to maintain chastity. But in homeopathy, it has been potentized, so it is helping to increase the libido. It gives a patient relaxation, and with that, it is also suppressing the prolactin level. Prolactin level has been suppressed, means there is a more chances of spermatogenesis. Same way, Agnus castus mother tincture is a very good remedy for the luteal phase deficiency in female. Antimony crude, black sulfide of antimony causing atrophy of the testis and penis. Any sulfide is always responsible for causing atrophy, means the destruction, necrosis. Argentum nitricum, nitrate of silver having an anti-inflammatory, antiseptic, and antibacterial property. So any inflammation, any sepsis, or any bacterial invasion has happened to the testis, then Argentum nitricum is working very well. Iodinum. Now coming to the iodium, iodium having a tendency to acute exacerbation of chronic inflammation. So these are the general homeopathic remedies which helps in aspermia. Now we are coming to the non-obstructive azoospermia. And for the non-obstructive azoospermia, I would azoospermia. First, let me explain that there are 2 types of azoospermia: obstructive azoospermia and non-obstructive azoospermia. And what is azoospermia? Azoospermia means complete absence of sperm in ejaculate. Aspermia means there is no fluid, no sperm. Azoospermia means absence of sperm in ejaculate. Here I have shown in the picture. Azoospermia means only blank, no sperms, but fluid is there. So when we categorize the azoospermia, there are 2 types of azoospermia. One is obstructive and another one is non-obstructive. Obstructive azoospermia we can classify with the hydrocele, varicocele, and we commonly comes across this type of condition in our day-to-day routine practice. So first, let us take varicocele. A cystic accumulation of blood in spermatic cord. You'll be able to see in a picture that this is a cystic accumulation of the blood. In a scrotum, we find a pampiniform plexus. collection of the veins. So when there is a blood circulating in these veins, and when there is a accumulation of the blood in excess, and when this blood can't go back, there is a stasis of the blood. That is called the venous stasis. And venous stasis having a high temperature, and that high temperature is killing the sperm. So this varicocele mostly found on left side, where spermatic vein empties out in left renal vein. Majority of the patient having a varicocele on the left side. Why? Because the spermatic vein empties in the left renal vein, and when there is a stasis on this side, we usually get the patients having a varicocele on the left side. In short, varicocele causes insufficient drainage of the blood from the testis. And that causes excessive pooling of the blood, resulting into higher intrascrotal temperature. So when there is a high intrascrotal temperature, it kills the sperm and patient develops azoospermia. Now, homeopathic rubrics for varicocele. We can find in repertory that pain, scrotum, swelling, scrotum, varicocele itself is a rubric in the repertory. Scrotum, skin color, blue. Swelling, scrotum after straining. And good homeopathic remedies, which works very well, is Aesculus mother tincture, belladonna, calcarea carb, hemamelis, ruta, pulsatilla, lyco, and cilicia. Cilicia is a marvelous remedy because cilicia having a tendency to retain water. If you take a pot of sand and if you pour water in that, it gets absorbed very quickly, very, very quickly. So cilicia is helping in removing the extra collected fluid from the tympaniform plexus. Now, let us discuss some cases quickly. Yes, this is very interesting case. Mr. KP from UK. When I was practicing in India, this patient came down from UK to India to my hospital, a well-built, handsome, enthusiastic young man with a very anxious, apprehensive mood, doing everything in haste, very hurried and worried type nature and character. He came from UK to India to find out some solution for his problem. And he was much worried about all the concerns of his wife as well, because his wife having a lot of complications like PCOS, then endometritis and all. So as I explained earlier in my talk, that first of all, I am treating the male patient. I am ruling out the condition of the male patient first, and then I go to treat the female patient. So you can see that he has a strong liking towards jewelry, diamonds, gold, white gold. And once upon a time, he told me that I'm going to start a business of jewelry. Though he was running a post office, but he had an intention to start a jewelry business. So I did investigations. This is a long back story, 14th of March 2002. And I advised a semen. It was 8.9 million cubic millimeter and volume was only 3 millimeter. Fructose was positive. Fructose is very, very important because it shows the patency of the duct. If fructose is negative, the prognosis is very, very poor. So when the fructose was positive, I thought that this patient will definitely going to improve with the homeopathic treatment. And we started with the argentum nitricum 1 dose per week. And as I explained you, even Dr. Shaji has also introduced that I have worked on acrosomal activity of the sperm and oxidative stress of the sperm by proving the L-arginine. L-arginine is an essential amino acids, and it improves the nitric oxide concentration in the blood vessels. So when the nitric oxide concentration is increasing the blood vessels, it improves the spermatogenesis. It improves the sperm production. And with this, with Acro 3X, I gave a Acro because it is working on the acrosomal activity of the sperm. So L-arginine was given 2 TDS for 1 week, 2 tablet morning, afternoon, evening for 1 week, along with Agnus castus mother tincture, 10 drops morning and evening. Here I have started with the morning, but I also told that if you want to take in the evening time, you can take because it will cut short the period. And when we check the semen after 2 months, that is on 13th of May 2002, the count was 49.6 million. Actively motile was 55%, sluggishly motile 20%, and non-motile was 25%. And his wife delivered a baby girl in 2003, and that baby girl has become now mature, quite mature, and right now she's also my patient over here. So this is the way you can improve, you can increase the sperm production with an oligospermic patient. Argentum nitricum I have selected on the basis of the liking for the jewelry, apprehension, hurried and worried, and liking for the sweets, because I have just make a short note over here. Otherwise, if I go for this case, I have taken a 4 pages with this, but I want to just compile in a shortest possible time because timing is very short. In 1 hour, I have to complete, and I think we are just reaching to that. So another patient, Mr. Kadri, still he's in contact with me. This daughters, she is a sort of a tennis champion in Gujarat, and I can say that still this patient is remembering me. When I visited India, he came with his wife and with his daughter, that because of you, I am blessed with this beautiful daughter. So here, this patient has also a problem with the sperm. And he told me that you can give my name openly. He wrote a very good review on Google about me. And he told me that you can give my reference. So I'm just putting his photographs over here. And what he wrote, that Dr. Nikun diagnosed that my sperm count were less in number. This is his words that I have put straight away. And as you look the photographs, you can see the constitution. He is a tubercular patient, very lean, thin, cachectic, and his wife also looks very lean, thin, cachectic. And I also treated him with L-arginine, tuberculinum 1M, 1 dose per 1 week, and the result is still in front of us. So this is, now I'm talking about a very interesting case, as I explained earlier, that bad effect of stock market on sperm production. Male patient, Mr. Mehta, 32 years, from Bhavnagar by profession. He's a share broker. Till today, he's a share broker. He had erectile dysfunction with PE, means premature ejaculations with gross oligospermia, only 0.2 million per ml, and very sluggishly motile. History revealed that he made a huge loss in share market 2 years ago. And after that, he never well since then, and became very slow, sluggish, lethargic, indolent. It's a very good term. Indolent, lazy, and he completely lost interest in his routine day-to-day life. The root of dysfunction was SORA, as it's an acquired and situational conditional cause. So, but at one point I observed that his count and motility both were improved because the stock market has been improved. He recovered some his loss and he felt happy. When he felt happy, the sperm count has gone little bit higher. So I selected Agnus castus 200 followed by Lycopodium 200 weekly for 4 weeks. Majority of the patients are always improved with the Lycopodium 200. And one of my patients is regularly taking Lycopodium 200 as a sex tonic. So patient improved his ED, erectile dysfunctions, with good amount of sperm in semen. And that has reached to 110 million because share market has hiked. And right now he's a father of 2 sons. So after then, he used to take this Lycopodium regularly because he found after taking it, he maintains his erection and enjoying his personal life. And I allowed him to continue whatever you want to do because I have done my job. I have improved your sperm count. Now, regarding the Agnus and Lycopodium, what Boric says. For the Agnus, Boric says that no erection. For the Agnus, if we read in the Boric Materia Medica, the Boric has mentioned that no erection, impotence, parts are cold, relaxed, desire has completely gone. Other remedy, we can think about the selenium, conium, and Subbalsarolatone. Agnus patient has scanty emissions without ejaculation. Loss of prostatic fluid on straining, as I discussed the same thing in arnica. Gluty discharge, testicle cold, swollen, hard, and painful. So this is Agnus picture, complete pathological picture of the Agnus patient. And sometimes patient gives very fine detail that yes, my testicles has become swollen, it is cold. And I always advise them, don't, when you take a shower, when you take a bath, don't pour hot water on the testes because it can increase the intrascrotal temperature and it will also suppress your sperm count. So this is very important tip for every homeopath to remember that when you come across any patients having a such type of condition, then advise them that use hot water. Okay, now coming to the Lycopodium. Lycopodium, no erectile power, impotence, premature ejaculations, premature emission, PE. The same symptoms you are getting with the Caladium, Selenium, and Agnus. Enlarged prostate. This is very typical thing with the Lycopodium. Mind is always melancholic, afraid to be alone. Lycopodium patient always wants company, little things annoy. Extremely sensitive and averse to undertaking new things. So this is a very, very important symptoms of the share broker. Averse to undertaking any new things. So he was not ready to take any risk with the share market and constant fear of breaking down under stress. Very apprehensive, as if something will happen. Failing brain power, cannot bear to see anything new. This is also very important with the Lyco, and cannot read that what he writes. Sadness in the morning on awakening. So these are the Lyco. And on this ground, I have selected a Lyco and Agnus, and you have seen the results that patient have 110 million per ml. So this is the magic of our homeopathy. And this is, I think, this is the last case of Mr. Raj Patel from the Nadiad. The patient was referred to me by one Ayurvedic practitioner. He was practicing in Nadiad. And this patient was literally crying when Ayurvedic practitioners told that I'm not able to treat you because you are completely azoospermic. You don't have any sperm. And patient just broken, completely broken up in his garden. So he was referred to me, and looking to his constitution, he was very lean, thin, over anxious about his azoospermia. Why? Because his wife was a medical lab technician. And if he tells his wife that I am having this condition, wife also becomes sad, broken, depressed. Everything can happen. So as if wife was a medical technician, and patient developed a severe anxiety when he was alone. He was crying when he was alone. Always loved to sit outside in a garden at his home. No sperm at all in semen. pH was 7.0. Ejaculations was very difficult. So had a problem on the first night. On the nuptial night, he also faced a problem. And that's why it has created a big impact on his mind, and he was unable to discuss the things freely with his wife. But this patient had a mumps in his childhood. On examination, when I examined the patient with the USG, patient had a testicular atrophy. Testes, they were smaller in size, and bilateral dilated venous plexus was noted with the USG, means Doppler study. And on left side, there was a reflux of the blood. His concern, he's the only son in his family with a big business as a tobacco merchant. So he was worried about his future and about his inheritance and his literate wife. That's the main thing. So here I selected a nosode because he had a history of mumps in the childhood. Nosode parotidinum 1 m, 1 dose every week for 6 weeks I gave. And I selected iodium 200, 4 pills morning, 4 pills evening for 6 weeks. Because on examination, I found testis was smaller in size. After that, first semen report, after 8 weeks, I have prescribed this petrodinum for 6 weeks. I told him to wait 2 weeks more because we want to see that how petrodinum works on the spermatogenesis. So I suggested that you go for the semen examination after 8 weeks. And after 8 weeks, it was 15 million per ml. It was a very, very positive moment for me that, oh, petrodinum has worked like a magic. Fructose was positive, motility was 55, and all the 55 were actively motile. 45 was non-motile. I treated him for 6 months, and his wife delivered a baby boy with cesarean section. So how iodine has worked over here, that I have mentioned, that iodine, testicles swollen. If we refer this iodium in a boric, then we'll be able to see that testicles are swollen and indurated. Hydrocele, loss of sexual power with atrophied testes. Acute exacerbation of chronic inflammation. Acute exacerbation, that is azoospermia. Chronic inflammation means childhood mumps. 2 words is very, very important to correlate: an examination of testis and atrophy. So this has taught me that this is the right remedy. I have repertorized as well. The same thing has came. And here rapid metabolism is also very, very important. He was losing weight, loss of flesh, great appetite, hungry with much thirst. These all symptoms. Better after eating, great debility with slightest effort induces perspiration. Iodium individual is exceedingly thin, dark, complex with enlarged lymphatic glands. Enlarged cervical lymphadenopathy, inguinal lymphadenopathy. These are very, very important features. If you examine the patient, then you will come to know all these things. And all glandular structure, respiratory organs, circulatory system are especially affected and they atrophy. Iodine are the defensive apparatus of the system by mononuclear leukocyte whose phagocytic action is marked. This footnote is very, very important. And with this, I selected petrodinum, iodium, and his wife delivered a baby boy. So this is how homeopathic medicines are working. And all this, my experience, I have put in a form of repertoire of infertility and materia medica of sexual disorder and sperm disorders and homeopathy. So these are the books which I have published. And this repertoire of infertility, I have started adding some new rubrics, and in a span of 6 to 8 months, I'm just publishing a second edition of it with more advancement, with more pathological explanation, and with more information that what are the factors should be considered, because day by day, the more and more new diseases are coming. Say, for example, before 2 years, we were not knowing about anything for the COVID, and right now everybody knows about the COVID. So this is a new thing. So same way, the environmental factor, the factors which surrounds us, it is also causing a sort of oxidative stress on the sperm and spermatogenesis, and that I'm going to put in a second edition of the repertoire of infertility. And I think you have enjoyed my lecture, and no doubt I have taken a little bit more time, but I'm sorry for that.